Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Tony Sirianni podcast. I am thrilled to have my good friends, Ross Bauer and Jay Andrews from Merritt Point. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for
Our
having
pleasure.
us.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
Tony.
Hey, look, let's start off with just a little bit of about the state of the industry, where we are. Yeah, we're constantly in flux, it seems, and there's a lot of factors sort of impacting, where advisors sit. They're voting with their feet for certain, types of platforms and things that they like. But this seems to be sort of a constant over the last 10 years, and this year is already a record year for M&A and stuff like that. So, just let's figure out, Jay, where do you see the industry today, and is this rate of change ever going to slow?
I I can't believe how much the industry has changed over the past
Yeah,
15, 20 years.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
crazy, right? Yeah,
it's insane. I think a lot of it is due to technology. A lot of it is due to, like you said, additional capital, M&A. I do definitely think that we're in the fifth or sixth inning of, you know, this move from maybe wirehouses to indies to RIAs. And
yeah,
I definitely see that trend continuing, especially
yeah.
now with the models that are out there. And like I said, the technology and the
Yeah. All
access
that.
to everything.
Anything to add to that, Ross?
Um, I think what I'll just add is what we're seeing a lot is advisors want optionality, right? I think as the independent space has continued to evolve beyond just the movement itself to independence and the M&A, it's within that independent world. What can that look like for me? Whether it's, I want to stand alone, set up my own shop, specialize in something, or I want the support and infrastructure of a large firm or a medium-sized firm behind me.
Yeah,
There are so many different versions of what independence means, and it's been really interesting to watch that play out, and I
I
think
know.
to see what the future looks like.
Yeah, I mean, part of the, I mean, it's a curse and a blessing to have all those choices, right? What happens, I think, a little bit is that you have the wirehouses here, you got the quirky RIAs like Rick Edelman, no offense, Rick, there, and then you've got, everybody else is kind of in the middle, and alluding to what you said. I mean, that includes Stifel and Janney and Raymond James and all the Wedbush, all those guys. So, how do you differentiate your firm? What do you do to sort of, stand out, or when you talk to advisors?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Tony, we talk about all the time analysis paralysis, right? Like
Right.
there's just so much optionality out there, and we meet teams all the time who are doing the right thing and doing the due diligence, right thing for themselves and for their clients, but it can be overwhelming. I think, the way that we think about our firm and where we feel like we differentiate, right, is on the optionality of our models and our offering. If you want to be a supported advisor who still gets all the benefits of independence, but without going it alone and the headaches of, being a full-on enterprise owner and dealing with leases and staff and all that comes with that, we've got a solution for that. We also have a solution if you'd like a lighter affiliation and you want the support and backing and capital that we're able to offer. But supporting the brand and the practice and the vision for those advisors in a slightly more hands-off way. And
So
I think that, go ahead, sorry.
No, no, I was gonna say for so Jay, in that, I mean, I agree with all that, but where does equity play into that? I mean, you talked a little bit about that in the beginning, that's one of the drivers of the marketplace these days. So where does it play into the conversations that you're having, and what are you hearing from advisors about it?
Well, I think it's interesting when Ross and I started the firm, we had a vision of, bringing in advisors and everyone would own a piece of Merritt Point.
Yeah,
And I think that's along the lines of what's available for advisors on the independent space where, there's potential equity in some of these firms. So that's just another added layer that you have to go through the due diligence if that's an option, which may or may not tie into a succession plan,
yeah,
which is another option. Ross brought up the flexibility just from not only the independence, but on our side. You know, eh, our shop would be great for, a 40 something coming on that has a 20, 30-year time horizon, or, someone who may want to retire in the next 5 years. So there's that optionality there that, like I said, hasn't always been there and been that flexible.
Yeah, you need capital to have optionality, right? You need capital and you have to be well funded to have flexibility. I mean, I think that's one thing we learned when I started my first firm. I think I've told you guys this. I put my house in it. You know,
Right,
that was
right.
the way to that was the way to fund it. So things have changed and it's getting a lot easier. But do you see any perils out there, Ross, in terms of, now the capital's sort of so available, you maybe have to be even more cautious.
I think that's right. I think, as much as there's already so much due diligence to do, I think when you're thinking about capital and the right kind of partner, the right kind of partnership, you have to think about what your end goal is and also the way in which you want to get there, right? And what I mean by that is there are so many different options from, full takeouts to minority stakes to partnership programs that'll help you grow. And each of those might mean something different for a different advisor, depending on not just where they are in their career, but the type of person they are, the type of business they want to run. Um, so I think take the time, whoever you're talking to about capital, partnership, et cetera, to understand what that offering looks like and, decide what type of firm is the best fit for the next 10, 20 years of your career in some cases.
So you guys both talked a little bit about succession, and what that might look like. And it brings up to mind something I know you have written about that I think is good, Ross, but I know Jay's a real big believer in it too, which is next gen, right? So how do we, it's a real challenge in the industry. I used to say, the best job you can have is fail out of the Merrill Lynch training program, right? Because then you're licensed and you know how to sell and you just, for whatever circumstance,
Right,
you'd be a valued person kind of anywhere. But today there is no Merrill training program. So
right.
how have you adapted, and how would you advise advisors, and how do you do it with your firm to lean into finding next gen? I mean, it's essential, but it's real hard to do.
Yeah, and I think we feel it's our responsibility to help them do it as well, right? And I'm talking about this more next week at your event.
Yeah, that's right.
But we really believe in the ground up training, right? I think it starts early on for these folks who become next gen advisors. We even think about them as next gen team members, right? And I think what they're looking for is a few things, and what we're looking for as well is some kind of structured program, right, with flexibility, but some structure where they know they can come in the door, learn the business from the ground up, get exposure, be in meetings, get the training, get the licensing, and ultimately know that we're looking out for the development of their careers and trying where we can, as well as anyone, it's hard to do, to make matches with more senior team members where they can, over time, do more for those team members, do more for those clients, help with the planning and the investment allocations, and really slowly move into that role as they learn the ropes of the business over a long period.
Yeah, so Jay, that's one of those things that um, most people just don't have a program or plan for it. And that's one of those things where having scale or being associated with a firm really can help you, right? I mean,
Oh, the difference just on that between going out and trying to do it on your own and have a succession plan versus, utilizing a firm like ours and having a process. And, I've always said there's nothing like hands-on training. If you're, like you said, we're not really trying to recreate the Merrill training program, but we are in essence where we have, account managers and support staff that really interact with the clients and are learning on a daily basis. And the program that we put out, again, I keep using the word flexible, but it's flexible. If you want to stay where you are, you can stay where you are. If you want to move up and try to be a junior advisor or a succession plan, it's there for them. And I think kudos to Ross. He's done an amazing job, with that program, putting it together and moving people up. So
yeah, it
it's
really feels
exciting.
like it feels like a part of the space where you apply some discipline, you'll get good results to it. Do you find that these next gen advisors value the same things? Like, do they value equity the way and partnership the way other advisors do who come to you?
I think so, right? And I think I tie that back into, having some level of defined progression path, right? But as
Yeah.
they're contributing to the growth of the firm, right, they want to be rewarded for that. And we have several different ways in which we do that, and we integrate them, into the business from a financial standpoint. But I think you want to have a few different tools in your toolbox for doing that. And again, to harp on the flexibility, I think every situation is a little bit different in terms of the particular practice or group of advisors or group of team members you're working with. So you want to create a program that works long term for then. And I'll just add, Tony, there's so much when we're doing this, we're realizing that the next gen adds value wise in helping
Yeah,
grow the business,
it's
whether it be
so
help with the
powerful.
digital marketing stuff or outreach to clients about their birthdays or helping with the financial or investment plan technology. There's a lot there where they can
Yeah.
really assist and free up the time of some of the more senior advisors.
Yeah, so Jay, I mean that's one of the advantages that you get from it, just in terms of team building, right? You
Hmm.
thoughtfully build your team, but we have a problem in the industry with second generation, right? Our clients retire, they die, or something happens suddenly, and the kids are alienated from the business. They don't know you, and they're on to something else.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's one of our focuses, and I think it should be across the industry of even having like, the next gen advisor, calling the kids that are the beneficiaries or reaching out or inviting them to a lecture or, there's just so much opportunity there. And, you hear it every year, how much, what's the wealth transfer going to be this year? What's it going to be? It's going to be, bigger than last year. So, yeah, that's definitely an important aspect.
What do you find? I mean, we talked about obviously that where there's some alignment, with the current advisors, right? They care about equity, which is good. What do they care about that's different? That makes sense. That hey, we can start applying some of these things that they care about to the firm.
I think it's very powerful to be able to show an advisor the independent space. I'll just use air quotes, and for them to be able to actually run and own their own business, whether or not they do it on their own or they open up a standalone or they join someone like us. I think that's very powerful, and like I said before, that wasn't as readily available, or maybe people are just opening their eyes and seeing the statistics too. Like, there's advisors I talked to at some of the wirehouses where they wouldn't even think of going independent 5 years ago when I talked to them, and now they're like, well, Jay, tell me about it again and what the
It just
benefits
honestly,
are.
from my point of view, and I'm older than you guys, but it felt like a fake job. Like, why would I do that? I go to Merrill Lynch, get trained. This is what you're supposed
Right,
to do.
right, right.
That you didn't have a choice.
Right. And I think it scares some people away of owning a business and having to worry about, like Ross said, benefits and HR and Wi-Fi and all this other stuff that
Yeah,
comes along with running a business. But like I said, there's platforms out there that, they can plug into, and it's still real independence
yeah, yeah.
and flexibility. And, you're still not to get away from the clients there. You're also on the independent side now, still having great access to investments, to financial planning,
Yeah.
to AI tools. So, that's also kind of leveled out the playing field, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so he brought up all you had to do was say, internet, but there certainly is a crossroads here where older advisors, young advisors, where we think, young people understand everything about technology, right? But there's this next gen, older advisors, tech and AI are all sort of, coming together here at a crossroads. What's next in that department? And to Jay's point, these people usually are more tech savvy than the 55-year-old, advisor, and they have new ideas and new ways to sort of, create scale and processes that are good. But what are you seeing there, Ross, in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we've continued to see over the past several years, even sort of pre-AI, right, as technology continues to improve, it increases efficiency, not just in financial services, but across the board, right? I think in our industry, you're already starting to see and you're going to see more utilization of those tools, whether it be advisors looking things up like, what are the IRA contribution limits updated to for this year, to asking more complex questions related to a client's tax bracket or a particular trust situation, right? So I think those resources are there. We're seeing clients using them a little bit, right? But what I think I find interesting is the clients are using them for those lookup type of tools. But then coming back to the
Yeah,
advisor,
they want to have a discussion about it. They want to
Right,
look it up,
right.
but they want to say, "Oh, my taxes, it's this." But what do you think? And it
right.
puts the. I mean, for most seasoned, experienced advisors, that's great because you're having better conversations, right? More
Right.
you're that they're doing half the job there. But I think it could also be intimidating for the unprepared advisor or advisor who doesn't have the resources to fall back on themselves and say, "Hey, I need a little help with this."
I think that's right. And I think it's the responsibility of the platform of the firm to help train those advisors up or give them the support that they need to deliver what they're going to need to deliver, right? Um, and that's something we're thinking a lot about as things move forward. But I think what we're excited about is we've got all these great people that are part of the team. As we continue to get more and more efficient, the client experience should only get better, right? We should only be able to touch clients more and give them more of what they're looking for, with stronger tools behind us.
So Jay, in terms of you have these younger people, you guys have done really well at bringing in. I mean, we're spending a lot of time on the next gen stuff, but you guys have really done well. Sort of a good example of how to bring it in. How do you capture their input? What do you do as leader of a firm to make people feel like they have access, especially those that are younger, working with AI. They're doing the tech stuff, really understand things like social media. How are you allowing them to express their ideas?
Well, first and foremost, it's just making sure that they're feeling like they're part of the family.
Yeah,
And I think that gets lost a lot. We have different committee meetings or different committees set up where if they want to be involved, they can, i.e., like our marketing committee meeting, which has been great. And we do a lot of LinkedIn and a lot of, um, you know, uh, presence and internet, website, and all kinds of stuff. But I think it's just them being comfortable being able to approach us. We have also weekly meetings with the next gen. They're at all of our due diligence, our annual meetings, so they hear where the firm is going. They hear about, succession planning. I think it gets them excited,
yeah.
and it gives them a spot versus, when I got in the business, we were dialing and
Oh
picking
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and that's how we got our
No,
book.
they didn't
And
care. They're like I certainly remember. I just wrote about this. Manager saying, "If you want a friend, get a dog. I'm not here to be your friend. Fucking
right,
get on the
right.
phone."
That's actually flipped, and I think it's nice to see that there's succession plans or books possibly available if they stay the
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotta be. So,
And I think I'll just add to that, Tony, like
yeah,
we really try to encourage everyone across the firm to push, the next gen a little bit, give them opportunities to be in the rooms maybe they haven't been in, to run a virtual presentation for our clients about a certain topic, or to be in that meeting and talk to the client about their business sale or what we're going to input into the investment planning software. And I think that's such a great way for them to learn
yeah.
and, really feel part of the team.
Well, thinking about what's next. So you have the next gen guys. Where do you see? I would like to hear from each of you. Where's our marketplace going to be? We talked. Jay's like we're fifth inning. You can argue we're in the third inning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much you could say, back and forth about it. But where are we in 5 years from now? Start with you, Ross. Go ahead. Where are we 5 years from now?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to Jay first.
No,
I think 5 years from now is going to be really interesting, right? I think, I guess maybe going from top down, right, and thinking about some of the larger players in the independent space, some of the capital providers, right? You're hearing more and more about, those businesses continuing to scale, potential IPOs on the horizon, right? So what I think about in that context, it's really exciting. But on the same note, this whole idea of independence, right? To me, the way it started and the way it feels is a whole lot smaller than being
yeah,
part of these large conglomerates. So as the independents scale and become conglomerates themselves, what does that feel like for partners in those firms or for the end, advisors and users? Um, and I think it's really, really exciting because I think as Jay and I, and the rest of the team feel every day, like what we love is problem solving and innovating and creating new things in the independent advisor space. And I think if you can keep that mindset and that attitude and that drive as the space continues to scale, you end up with something really, really cool, really, really powerful, and useful long term for folks in the industry and for the end clients. And
yeah.
that's what I think you're going to see more of in the next few years.
So Jay, what do you think?
I agree, and I also think having the ability to create a wirehouse model where, you join a firm, you're on a grid, you have benefits, your support staff is covered, your computer's covered, your compliance, your marketing, and having all that, I think, is going to continue to open a lot of advisors' eyes, saying, you know what, this independent thing isn't very scary.
Yeah.
It's powerful, and there's a lot of benefits for both me as the advisor and the clients.
Yeah. Well, look, that I consider that a high note. We kind of know where we're going to go for the next, couple of years. So we'll end on that. Appreciate you guys getting into everything and all the stuff on next gen and where we see the business going. So appreciate it. We'll do it again, but
Great.
that was great having you guys.
Great. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thanks very much, Tony.